I am Jeff Lopez, the Director of the New Mexico Office of Broadband Access and Expansion. I was appointed by Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham back in June, and I've done my best to hit the ground running. It's been an exciting couple of months, and I will say a large portion of my time has been meeting directly with our nation's tribes and pueblos throughout New Mexico. So I want to thank Pojoaque Pueblo for hosting today, to Godfrey and JD and NTTA for inviting me to speak to you all this morning. For me, and for the Office of Broadband, tribal sovereignty is the starting point. It is integral to everything that we do at the Office of Broadband here in New Mexico. Godfrey might not remember, but I first met him when I worked for then Senator Tom Udall, when Godfrey came to Washington to testify on the importance of tribal sovereignty, on Maddie and the example it set for the state and the nation for tribal telecommunications. So thank you, Godfrey. It's been an honor to work with you over these many years, and I look forward to the years to come. Self-determination is critical, not only for New Mexico state law, but for our own office policy and for the priorities that we seek to meet for the goals that we are undertaking. It is extremely important to the Office of Broadband that tribal communities have control and ownership of their own infrastructure and data. Owning and managing one's own network ensures sovereignty. Tribally owned networks can lead to better service, fair pricing, and protection of cultural and environmental information. Data sovereignty will also protect community and culture. Broadband tribal sovereignty will help foster economic development, education, telehealth, and allows tribes, pueblos, and nations to cover how data is collected and utilized. They'll provide job opportunities within tribal communities and create opportunities for tribal businesses. The New Mexico Office of Broadband Access and Expansion has worked tirelessly to help tribes. We stand ready to assist upon their request to build broadband infrastructure and expand and deploy high-speed internet. During the last 2 years, Office of Broadband has awarded 26 state and federal grants to tribal communities. These grants have provided more than $56 million to help build or expand broadband on tribal lands. Office of Broadband has 5 grants totaling $37.5 million to the American Rescue Plan Act Capital Projects Fund. These awards are designed to help tribes build broadband infrastructure. One of those 5 awards went to Jimenez Pueblo, and I was honored to provide an award on behalf of the state to Kevin Chenda, the broadband director for JNET. He has set an example with the $8.6 million provided through ARPA to build fiber to 670 homes. JNET, the internet provider established and operated by Jimenez Pueblo, has invested in current fiber to home projects since January of 2024, utilizing existing infrastructure from the E-rate program through the Federal Communications Commission. Our state broadband grant program, the Connect New Mexico Fund, has provided 5 tribal grants totaling $15.2 million. Okie was awarded $2,050,000 through Office of Broadband Student Connect program. That program is designed to connect rural students in New Mexico to the services and the educational resources they need to succeed. Many students may have internet in schools and libraries, but when they return home, they don't have access. Now, through this grant, community school students will be able to get online at home through fixed wireless service. The Office of Broadband has also awarded 15 grants totaling $1.5 million for planning, engineering, and grant writing to help tribes construct and deploy broadband services. We are also undergoing a $1.9 million grant from the U.S. Department of Labor for workforce training. An important component of this is training the trainers, making sure that we have the certification capabilities here in New Mexico for fiber infrastructure, wireless infrastructure, and low Earth orbit satellite as we deploy more funding through the state. An important aspect of Mobile's mission is to bring high-speed internet to tribal communities in personal contact and engagement. My tribal coordinator, Victory Quintana, and liaison has led us throughout New Mexico working with the tribal support team. I have personally visited more than a dozen tribal communities throughout the state, discussing broadband needs, funding opportunities, and how we at the state can better serve our tribal partners. We have met with tribal governors, broadband directors, and others to discuss how to ensure they get access to broadband. Last month, the Office of Broadband submitted a final proposal to the National Telecommunications Information Administration with a comprehensive broadband infrastructure proposal aimed to connect more than 43,000 unserved and underserved locations throughout the state. We preliminarily awarded $433 million for this deployment in grants for broadband equity access and deployment program. The Office of Broadband preliminary awarded 3 awards to tribal nations and pueblos. Navajo Nation for $111.7 million, the Pueblo of Yakima for $10.7 million, and the Jemez Pueblo for 2 awards, $9.5 million and $18.4 million to connect homes throughout the region. The question I get often is how will the Office of Broadband act as a mediator between NTIA, the federal government, and tribes? The Office of Broadband is here and we are dedicated to supporting Mexico's tribes, nations, and pueblos in achieving their connectivity goals. Office of Broadband employs a full-time tribal coordinator, project managers, and a full team standing ready to assist upon request. Should issues or questions arise related to broadband projects in tribal land, we are prepared to share staff expertise, coordinate and attend meetings, and share information with relevant parties. In other words, act in accordance with the Mexico Tribal Collaboration Act, honoring tribal sovereignty and coordination. I also get the question how we will assist with permitting. For BEAD in particular, we act as the lead agency in partnership with NTIA. We hired a full-time permitting coordinator, Wayne Confield, and he's in the process of preparing expert contractual support for NEPA environmental and historical preservation. We are deploying a permitting tool that will allow the Office of Broadband grant recipients to upload their network designs and automatically identify the permits required to achieve their goals. Office of Broadband will be available to coordinate with permitting entities and attend pre-application meetings in support of tribes, and will be prepared to share information, otherwise assist permitting entities to expedite their review and approval of permitting applications. For 14 years, I worked in Washington, D.C. on behalf of the state of New Mexico for then Senator Udall and Senator Ben Ray-Lamont. A big part of my time there was making sure that federal agencies understand not just the importance of tribal consultation, but the importance of tribal consent. We were successful with the NTIA Notice of Funding opportunity that requires tribal consent before deploying or awarding any grants on tribal lands through the BEAD program. The Federal Communications Commission is still working. They understand tribal consultation, but not the importance of tribal consent. And you all understand what happens if a project is awarded without that consent before funds are made available. That means the project will default if it does not obtain the necessary permitting, consent, and cooperation and coordination with the tribes involved. Us at the Office of Broadband will not award any funding without a tribal council resolution or approval of the designated agency for tribes, nations, and pueblos. The programmatic waiver of tribal consent deadline for NTIA requires that if an internet service provider fails to obtain a resolution of consent from the tribal council within 6 months of federal approval of Office of Broadband's final proposal, that the Office of Broadband will identify an alternative project that has obtained the required resolution of consent from the specified locations. We will honor that, as well as the U.S. and state law requiring we work directly with our nation's pueblos and tribes here in New Mexico. I do want to mention a little bit about what comes next. I believe that after BEAD, we will serve every unserved and underserved location throughout New Mexico. But that is not the end of the story. That is just the capital infrastructure required to provide access to broadband throughout New Mexico. We need to focus then on affordability, on operations, and on maintenance, making sure that the networks that we're investing in today do not go underfunded in the future, that continue to provide service throughout New Mexico, including to our tribes, nations, and pueblos. I believe the Public Regulation Commission here in New Mexico and the State Rural Universal Service Fund is an important part of that discussion and the future of broadband connectivity in our state. The Federal Universal Service Fund from the Federal Communications Commission is also critical to that need. There is currently a Universal Service Fund working group within Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, negotiating, discussing, and seeking feedback from you all on what that future connectivity will look like. It is definitely a hot debate. There's no consent, there's no agreement yet, but their goal is to reach that agreement and set the resources necessary for that future connectivity. Finally, I want to conclude with what we are doing today to provide access, particularly for our nation's pueblos and tribes. We still have funding available to help communities plan, design, and expand or build broadband. We have $1.6 million available through the Student Connect program, which I mentioned in reference to one of the awardees, Pojoaque Pueblo, connecting connectivity to student homes. We have $1.6 million available through our grant writing, engineering, and planning grant program available for those purposes for our nation's pueblos and tribes. And we just last month deployed the Community Connect program, a new $7 million program through state funds that is designed to provide public Wi-Fi to community institutions throughout the state, whether it's a public park, a library, or a school, making sure that those community centers have the broadband connectivity they need to serve your communities. We encourage everybody in New Mexico to apply, and you can go to connect.ham.gov for more information. Fundamentally, me as director and the team at the Office of Broadband stand ready to assist on any requests for assistance. I want to recognize the Office of Broadband staff. If you wouldn't mind, please standing. I want to thank Alex Trujillo, our Deputy Director, Kevin Hopper, our Public Information Officer, Victor Quintana, our Tribal Liaison, Eric Moores and Eric Rogers, our Project Managers, and Mr. Mike Curtis, our Press Coordinator, for being here today and for serving New Mexico and our communities every day. Thank you again to NTTA and Godfrey and JD for inviting me to participate today. And with that, I think we're going to turn it over to the panel.
All right, Jeffrey. So I wish you could have been here yesterday, but